Hi, John. Thank you for inviting me for the podcast. My name is Ray Estevez, and I am the Chief Data Officer at True Influence. I've been with the company for about 2 years now, and actually moving on to a Chief Information Officer role. So my responsibilities are expanding, which is pretty cool. So
Oh, awesome. Ray, thanks so much for finding time to join us on the podcast. Perfect timing, right? With the change in the role and responsibility. Congrats on, on the promotion or whatever that is, or change in responsibilities. Tell us
yes,
uh
thank you.
tell us a little bit more about, about your background, where you come from, career path, and then I want to spend some time talking about your current role.
Sure, sure. Well, I am a proud product of New York City's inner city. Public school systems. I went to public school, public university, and it just goes to show you that if you give a individual an opportunity, they really can excel. I came from a very tough area in Manhattan, Harlem. I'm sure you've heard of Harlem, New York, and had a great upbringing. Tough streets, but it made me tough. It made me want to succeed and achieve great things. So I stayed focused on school, got my degrees, and then just hustled my way through careers and promotions just by a lot of hard work.
Oh, that's exciting. I can definitely relate to, the upbringing and, the kind of the big city life as well. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. As far as your current role and responsibilities, or, the company in general, tell us a little bit more about that. What falls under your purview? What are the, the problems that you're currently solving? What are the most exciting projects you have underway?
Yeah, I started, like I said, about 2 years ago. I was brought in to help sort of expand the data practice within the organization. So I actually made a move, a pivot in my career at that time from a chief information officer, chief technology officer background to more of a chief data officer focusing on the data side, both data science, data acquisition, best practices, data governance, and really to mature the organization and make it a leader in the B2B space for marketing data. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years. And just recently, they've reorganized the company and have added a bunch of other responsibilities just because of my background to me. And I'm being moved to chief information officer now and still responsible for all the data, but now all the systems in terms of infrastructure, compliance, privacy, security, high availability, all those great things that come with the technology side. Um, in particular, for me, the data challenge was a great experience. These last 2 years have been awesome because I came into an area where I heard and read a lot about data science and big data. I stay abreast of change and technology, but had not really had a chance to fully put it to practice. And the last 2 years have been such a great experience. We process billions and billions of data signals that show intent of business contacts and businesses showing, consuming business topics by visiting websites, searching, clicking on ads. And we take all this data, process it, and put it through this relevance engine that we build that basically tries to provide an intensity score of how is this person really interested in this topic, mostly around B2B. What are they searching? What are they consuming? What are they exploring? Are they in market to make a purchase? And we surface that through a interface that we develop for our customers to find these leads and drive marketing campaigns, whether it's through digital, ads in terms of programmatic or email marketing, yeah, many different forms of marketing to reach these uh, business contacts, if you will, and businesses that are showing intent. So it was completely different because I came from a consumer-centric business prior to this. Um, we targeted consumers who are looking for music and sports and just consumer-driven purchases and interests. And B2B was not that big of a focus in my previous roles. So I had to completely learn a whole new industry and a whole new world. But it's been incredible journey, and I'm very excited, you know, to 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 lead this group and to achieve what we've done in such a short period of time. So
Uh-huh. Wow, that's super exciting. And, sounds like a lot of, challenges, but at the same time, very exciting projects you have underway. So that's great to hear. And to take that a little bit further, you playing different roles, being responsible of data and now taking more of a, umbrella role of the technology aspect of your organization, being the CIO. Innovation, I'm pretty sure, is at the forefront for you as a as a strategy, and building and fostering that culture of innovation. I'm pretty sure that's one of the main focus areas for you, along the lines with everything that comes along with from maintenance standpoint. Tell us a little bit more about your strategies or insights, any initiatives that really help you build and foster that culture innovation within your organization.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And for me, innovation really, a lot of people confuse innovation with technology, and it really is not technology. To me, innovation is people that are really thinking about a problem and making an improvement or a solution to something that either doesn't exist or exists, but how to improve it and make our world around us better. So innovation is creative minds to look at something that exists or doesn't exist and helping improve it. Without improvement, there is no innovation, right? And that's the way I look at things. That's the way I feel. I consider that without improving the process or building something new that's going to help the world around us, you can't call that innovation. Just because you apply faster technology or cool gadgets, that's not innovation. So that's kind of how I look at innovation. In terms of strategies, I've tried to build, even in my prior roles, but more so now because I'm more on the business side, dealing with data and customers directly. Um, how do we innovate? How do we improve what we're delivering to the customer, the quality, the responsiveness of that data in terms of those campaigns? How do we increase their ROI? So not just the process itself or the technology tools, which are just a vehicle to drive that innovation, but what is the end result? How have you made these clients happier or better or more successful because they're using your product or your data? And that's where I basically have used my team to look at the data and really ask a lot of questions and model it and really try to say, what can we learn from these campaigns and these things that work or didn't work, and teach these models, these AI models that we've developed, to provide and keep surfacing the better responding groups of target customers that you might market to. And that's really sort of a culture that I created through influence, that basically says, listen, you got to look at the data, you got to challenge the data, you have to question the data, and you have to validate it, right? You have to make sure that the response is there. You can't just bring in all this raw data, try to format it and standardize it as structure, and just say, I'm done. So that's, to me, where innovation is really about. How do you improve the process of business of our marketers, the CMO clients that are coming to us, that are trying to grow their businesses? And that, to me, is what makes this an exciting world for me. Technology is just a vehicle. It's just a tool. They're tools that help accomplish that. But training and educating and creating this data-driven culture within my company is what's allowed us to innovate and continue to grow, even during COVID. I mean, think about what we just went through, and we're still in it, right? Most companies were struggling, and we kept pushing forward. We accelerated. We went faster. We challenged ourselves and our staff. So that's to me is what innovation is. How do you improve the process even under these challenging conditions?
Right, right, absolutely. No, I love these examples. At the end of the day, it's not about some innovative new product that you had built from a technology standpoint. It could be as simple as, improvement in a process, like you said. It's, all boils down to the overall outlook into innovation and whole that culture of experimentation almost, and empowering your folks, employees, to feel, to be autonomous in a sense, bringing ideas to life, and also having the resources and time and allocation to experiment and bring take action and actually try to bring that particular idea into action. So that's exciting. uh
Yeah. early on in my career, just to add a little to that,
Uh-huh.
I was one of these guys that really challenged the norm. If you remember, well, you're probably much younger than I am, but back in the days, you would not fail if you selected IBM or Microsoft. Now, everything is open source, right? So about 15 years ago, open source was just kind of a beginning, and I adapted it, I learned it, I embraced it and brought it to my companies that I was involved with and helped those companies innovate and grow because I took chances and challenges. So it's like you said, technology is just a vehicle, but it's how do you apply it? How do you use it? How do you convince people that this is going to make things better
Right.
and improve your world? And that's kind of how I started innovating early on by just looking at what was out there and applying it within my own world on how
Mhm.
to improve my environment. So
Right, right, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Thanks for sharing that. And we briefly touched upon different, ideas to innovate, ideas to make things better. From an overall standpoint of, what are the different trends or ideas that really excite you these days? It doesn't necessarily have to be in your industry, but just overall, what are you super excited about? What is the next big thing? What are you researching? What are you looking to invest in or perhaps build? Share with us some insights there.
sure, sure. Well, from an outside of my industry, obviously AI is the craze that's going on, right? You see all these autonomous vehicles and flights into space and all these companies exploding around us in terms of growth and investments. So I'm just so excited that where are my children and my grandchildren going to live? What's that world going to be like? It feels like it's almost right here, right now, getting almost tangible. I didn't think I would ever hear about any of these things. Soon we'll have flying taxis that Uber can take us somewhere. And that to me is, what I see outside of my industry that really excites me. I read a lot, I follow these companies, I invest in these companies because, hey, if I believe in it, it may pay off from my personal investment perspective. From our business side, in terms of my current role, it's really applying some of those challenges and innovations and ideas in the business side, data and the use of AI and expanding and improving data science to come up with better models and better solutions for our customers and our platform. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, what are we doing? How can we do it better? Is there another enhanced cycle or model that we can use to produce even better results? So pushing the envelope of how do you apply data science and types of data that you're bringing in to solve and improve your current business and your customers' results. So that's kind of how I spend a lot of my days is constantly thinking about innovation from that perspective, and it's really on my side of the business all around data. How much more data can I bring in? What type of data can I enhance?
Mhm.
And then what do I do with that data? How do you massage it and process it and create these models that can tell you something, some predictive analysis that might yield a great result for our customers? So
Mhm.
that's kind of what gets my juices flowing and excitement as I get up and go to work every day. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can definitely relate. And a lot of the trends that you're talking about definitely very exciting to me as well from advanced technologies perspective. Also, from a standpoint of kind of just anything that really kind of questions the norm, questions the standard. The cryptocurrency, I'm very excited about that. Just, being, the overall kind of education, learning, component of that, just exiting from the overall standard, institutionalized education versus something a little bit that's more practical. I think those are the different trends that I'm super pumped about. So definitely, thank you for sharing those ideas with us. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
to shift gears a little bit, um, so with you being, in technology executive, and when certain candidates join your guys' organization, they go through different rounds of interviews, technical assessments, all of that great stuff. When the candidate gets to you, and you interview them, give us a glimpse into an interview with Ray. What does that look like? Do you get creative with those? What types of questions are you asking, and more importantly, what are you looking for in some of the responses when you hear them?
That's a great question. I don't do a lot of interviewing, honestly. I kind of have a introductory call. Normally, my directors and VPs that work under my organization, they do the technical drill down, right? And I tell them, I don't want to see anyone unless they pass mustard on your side and you feel like this is going to be a great candidate for this company. So we might start out with 20 candidates for one role, and I may interview two or three, if that. Normally, maybe just two, and then I kind of help them, give them my insight. But I never make a decision. I don't hire anyone. I've always empowered my staff to make their decisions because they're the ones who are going to lead those folks. They're the ones who have to work with them closely every day. So I give them that power. I says, listen, this I can give you my opinion, but at the end of the day, you make your final decision. But what do I do in these interviews or sort of hello introduction calls that I make with these folks that make it to my level is really to try and find how confident are they? Do they get rattled by challenge and crisis? Or are they cool, calm, and collective? Can they handle a crisis and solve a problem, not get, oh my God, all flustered and I can't figure this out and kind of throw their hands up in the air? I look for that in a personality, right? Because the skill sets, they have the degrees. A lot of them bring a lot of theoretical skills and knowledge to the table, but very little practical experience in real world challenges. So I'll ask a question about, tell me about some of the biggest problems you faced in your role and how you dealt with solving that and things like that. That I start picking personality traits on an individual to say, wow, this person is going to be super cool, super collective, and is going to be able to handle any situation that the business brings to the table, whether it's a crisis or just a question. And that's what lets me to find, I think, really high quality individuals. I have people in my organization that I've been working with for many, many years. There's a gentleman that works for me that I've sort of bring him wherever I go because he's one of my right-hand guys. And he's worked for me for almost 20 years. And to build that kind of rapport and connection with someone is because you have to give people power to make decisions. You can't micromanage. You got to let them grow and develop. And you'd be surprised how well they're going to surprise you and deliver. So that's something that I thrive in terms of how do I grow my staff? How do I encourage them to lead and to nurture the younger, more junior folks that we hire into the pool? And I've only been here 2 years, but like I said, I have one person that's been with me for like 20 years, and he's with me in this new organization. And I rarely lose people because I work very hard to help them grow and give them a lot of rope. Either you're going to hang yourself or you're going to succeed. And I think most of them, because I pick them properly, they thrive. They become successful. I have people that I still connect with that worked with me in the past. They're currently CEOs of companies or CIOs or CTOs, and they were directors or VP of something under my organization at some point in the past. I love that. To me, that shows I'm doing something right. These people are successful and I picked them. I brought them in. So it's great,
I love it. No, that's super exciting, and that's just a testament to your, to your leadership style in terms of really understanding what, the whole concept of leadership. At the end of the day, that the more people you can help succeed, the more successful you are. And also what you talked about from the interviewing standpoint, it's really empowering your team to make the decisions. And really, when you actually sounds like when you interview folks, it's more of an opportunity for them to interview you and also ask the questions on, who's the leader, who's, what type of culture within the organization, am I the right fit for this type of group? I think that's super exciting. Very simple, but oftentimes it's overlooked from a standpoint of kind of driving that. And that's, that's super exciting. Ray, from a standpoint of kind of some of the most in-demand skill sets, or something that's very challenging for you guys to find these days as an organization, share with us some intel from that standpoint. The reason I ask this is because a good portion of our listeners, also our early stage career professionals, recent grads, and a lot of questions we also get is, hey, these conversations are great because it's, it's practical, it's straight from the source, there's no marketing fluff. But ask the guest, what are the different areas where I should invest my time developing particular skill set?
Yeah, no, those are great questions. And it really depends on what they want to do. Technology is so broad, right? There's so many angles and areas that one can follow. I sort of landed in management just, I think, by accident, but it worked out great. So you have to first search within yourself and determine what drives you, what motivates you. Do you want to be a practical, hands-on engineer that solves some amazing products and create solutions and things like that? Then there's a different path in terms of what you should learn, what you should focus on. If you want to be a project leader, there's another path. You want to be a manager at a high level, there's a different type of way of thinking. But with answering your question in terms of what's in demand, I mean, right now it's all about data and data science. You see it all around, even all this AI stuff that we're talking about for the future that's happening all around us. It's all driven by data and the processing and handling of these data through all these models, which, include machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, NLP, and just understanding how to use these skills in a practical manner will open and allow you to grow with where things are. Now, you ask this question 10 years from now, it may be totally different, right? But in today's world, I mean, those are the biggest in-demand skill sets, anything around data science. And I'm talking about, it's a big gamut of areas, right? It could be development, where you need to be a programmer and develop and apply some of these models into a computer algorithm, whether you're using Python or R or C++, or there's so many options. But right now, Python and R are the two leading development languages. You have to understand the concept of SQL, right, in terms of data analysis and extracting data and standardizing data and querying data and updating data and bringing structure to this unstructured world that we get all these feeds in. So those are the areas that if you really want to say what is really in demand, those are the areas. Anything in the data science field, anything with Python and R and SQL and development in those coding in those areas to help those things. Analytics in terms of modeling and advanced querying of data and thinking of data and grouping it in certain ways. Those types of skills will make anyone extremely valuable. And the money that's being thrown at these people, it's crazy. I mean, I graduated, oh God, I'm giving my age away here, but I graduated in 1986. And I got my first job at JP Morgan in Wall Street. I was so excited, young kid. And I think I was making $25,000 a year, right? So I was like, okay, that's a long time ago. And it seemed like a world. Now, there's some kids coming out of college with barely, no experience, just a theoretical degree and paper, breaking that 100,000 mark. It's insane what's going on, especially if they focus on a data science or real technical area. So these skills that are in demand are very important, but besides that is the human element, right? Understanding, listening, people skills, managing and engaging with teams. That's also a big in demand. You look, a lot of managers that are hiring, they look for that because the technical aspect, you know, people are going to get better over time. The more projects they do, the better they're going to become developers and analytics type folks. But there's certain skills that are harder to teach.
Yep.
And you got to look for those things. So if you can focus on personal skills to help you, whether you're going to go on a technical track and be an engineer hands-on all the time, or a project manager, or a leader that you want someday to be a VP or CXO of some type, those other skills are just as valuable, if not more so, right? The business side of things. So I look for all those things. And to me, that is what's really in demand these days in a technical world. For me, what's hard to find? You said, are there things that are hard to find? Yeah, there's a shortage. We hear about it all the time. And there's such a push for teaching STEM, right, to folks in college and all these programs. And that is what we need to do. We need to increase the number of people that can work in these areas, because this is where the world is evolving to, at least for the next 10, 15 years. So the more people that can get into these fields and take these classes and these degrees, the better we're going to be. But right now, it's a challenge. When
Yeah.
I put a job ad for, a data science, even if it's an entry level or a mid-level person, it takes us a while to find the right candidate. There's a lot of people who throw their resumes over. They took a class on Udemy and they think they're a data scientist. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So it is hard to find these people, and there's a shortage out there. So I am a big supporter and proponent of, people that I mentor, to, if they want a career in technology and in this type of field, to focus on these areas and become proficient, practical, not just book theory, but put it to practice. The
Yeah.
more you know and the more you learn and do, the better you're going to be at what you do. So.
Right. Absolutely. No, I can totally relate with what you're talking about from data perspective, because for us at ProSource, that's what we specialize in, partnering with companies on very specific niche skill set, from staffing recruiting perspective, from cloud, data science, advanced technologies, cybersecurity, those four areas, we specialize in, mainly because that's our practical expertise. But from what you're talking about, that being in demand and that being such a almost unicorn skill set, where just the skill set alone, technical expertise is not enough, where it has to be, combined with, a set of soft skills that really make you as a well-rounded technologist, professional. Because technical skills, they evolve, technologies evolve all the time, but your soft skills, your ability
That's
to
right.
collaborate, your ability, your emotional intelligence, those are the things that, also should not go unnoticed. And I love what you were talking about from that standpoint, really also investing time into develop that side of you as a professional. I think it's super important.
Absolutely. I think you hit it right on the nail there, on the head of the nail, because a lot of people focus on the technical spot. I got this certification, I got this degree, but they don't know how to deal with conflict and those soft skills you just described, dealing with understanding what the client is really asking for, listening. Listening is a very powerful skill.
It's
And
huge.
then
And these days, to
making
kind of
sure.
add to what you're talking, like everything being remote and virtual, those skills
Exactly,
get,
exactly. Yeah,
even more elevated.
that's right. That's right. So
I love
yeah,
that.
no, it's yeah.
That's great. Thanks for kind of, give us an insight from that perspective. For, when it comes to actually, you touched upon that being a big challenge, attracting that type of skill set to your teams and so forth. What are the different strategies that really help you to find and attract that type of talent to your teams? What, share with us anything that's has worked well for you, or maybe has not, maybe some of the things to avoid.
Sure. Yeah, no, right now I'm in a good spot. And the reason is I'm at a great company that offers a lot of benefits and great stuff. So it makes that part of the decision making of attracting people easier, right? So, the company offers 100% free medical benefits. You don't contribute a penny to it. Um, 401k matching, where they're actually matching some of your 401k contribution, things like that, right? Continuous training. We invest so much money and energy on training through LinkedIn, other sort of groups of training, external training, whatever it takes to advance these people. So that portion makes it easier when I have those conversations with folks who might be looking at our company, because it opens the door that there's no objection. Oh, well, this company doesn't pay well, or they don't have good benefits, or they don't do training. So that makes it a much easier conversation. The next thing is, it's really about personality, right? you have to have a culture, and you have to feel like you fit into that culture. So I work very hard with my staff because they do most of the interviewing. They do most of the initial screening. They are the ones who narrow it down to those top 2 or 3 candidates that might come on board. So how do you make them feel like, oh my God, this is the company that I would like to be part of? They're growing. They offer great benefits. There's advancement potential. There's learning potential here. Even if it's just for 2 years of my journey, it could be the most amazing 2 years that I've had so far. So making that environment appealing and attractive to them, I think helps us attract candidates. When we put up an ad on LinkedIn or on our website, we get inundated with resumes. And maybe because there's a lot of people who've lost jobs because of COVID, there may be more people than before. Sometimes we have to spend a lot of effort to try and convince the really good ones that we are the right organization for them, that we are the right team, the right culture, where they're going to excel and grow and develop their journey of where they want to get to. So, it is a challenge. It's not easy. I guess I'm lucky right now because I'm working for a pretty good company that offers a lot of great things and makes that part a little easier. Sometimes you get some candidates that they're very clear on what they want to do. And I always ask these questions sometimes about goals and, what do you want to do short term or long term, right? In that introductory, just to get a sense of, is this someone who just wants to be a manager and a VP by tomorrow?
Right.
Or someone who wants to contribute to this company and evolve as an individual and grow? And those are the types of things that I get into to understand. Some people come in with a chip on their shoulder because they think they're that good and that they should be in your seat as the CDO or CTO by next year.
Right.
And I've had people tell me, I want your job by next year.
Mm-hmm.
Blunt. And they're applying for a manager's job or even a senior engineer's job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I paid my dues to get here. I've been at this for a long time.
Right.
So I don't think it's that easy. I mean, there's some exceptional rock stars out there, but most of them, if you notice,
mm-hmm.
the way they get there, it's because they start their own thing.
Right.
If you do it through the journey of a corporate environment, you still have to pay your dues. You're not going to go from graduating college with your bachelor's or master's degree and 2 years later expect to be the CIO or CTO or CDO of a company, that's maybe making $100 million a year
mm-hmm.
without paying some dues and really innovating, right? So that's what I try to find, those that are realistic in their vision of their journey. And then I try to embrace them into, I can help you get there. Let me show you how I can get you there. Tell me what you want. If it's realistic and achievable within this culture, within this organization, I'll show you the way. But if it's not, it's okay. Good luck. This is not the right fit for us, right? And you have to find identify those differences and then make decisions off of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, I love those examples. And, from personal perspective, it definitely makes sense. It's, at the end of the day, it's also boils down to the type of culture that you foster within the organization. And for a lot of, my clients that we've had, relationships for many, many years, it's really for, yes, internally recruiting that, it definitely makes sense. But for us to come in and also help an organization, I think number one investment that we make is to really first understand the type of culture that's in place. Because as we start sourcing and interviewing candidates, it's usually an immediate, assessment is this going to be the right fit? Is this going to be the right personality match and so forth? So I think that definitely makes sense from what you're talking about, being very surgical, and also providing the candidates an opportunity to interview you as well.
That's right.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, very important. Yeah, absolutely.
So for you personally, for your sources of information, your sources of learning, share with us any, interesting articles, blogs, websites that you subscribe to. What are your sources for continuous self-improvement. What, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I I am a learner. I'm always researching and trying to stay ahead of the curve because, as you said earlier, technology is just constantly changing and evolving, so you can't stay still, right?
Right.
Um, One of the sites that I've used, and I discovered it a few years ago, and I love, and they're doing a great job with universities to help people advance and get degrees, even in while they're still working. The world has changed, right? And this is what innovation is. How do you make education easier, better, more accessible, and more reasonably priced?
Mhm.
So there's this site called edx.org.
Mm.
I discovered this site like 3 years ago. I love it. I still use it. It's critical to my organization, the last two organizations that I've been in. And I'm actually right now starting to try and work towards my master's.
Mm.
You say to yourself, oh, crap, Ray Estevez doesn't have a master's. That's right.
Mhm.
While I was at JP Morgan, I just devoted my life and time to the company. I started my master's degree at Pace University down on Wall Street,
Mhm.
got sidetracked, got married early, life got in the way, my career got in the way, and I started succeeding. Never finished it. Never finished it. It's one of those things you regret in life, not because it didn't help me succeed. I've been very successful, but it's just a personal achievement and growth. So, now they have these micro masters programs and things you could do slowly, gradually towards you can put it all together and get that
Yeah.
achievement. Even if I'm 65 years old, John, I'm going to invite you to my party to say, hey, I'm celebrating my master's degree, because that's one of my goals and dreams to still finish, right?
I love that.
And it's not, it's one of those things that this site can help many people, even in inner cities with low income, that can start building skill sets and degrees or certificates to help
Mhm.
them land those jobs, to improve their lives, their families, and move forward. And it doesn't matter where in the world, right? Because the internet is just so powerful now. So that's one area that from an education I use a lot, and I leverage it at all my companies, and a lot of my staff uses to advance their skill sets, or learn new things. There's other sites like Kaggle, Data Science Central, which are areas that I'm always following and reading their blogs and posting great paper by some great people. And another one called Code Mentor that I've used and visited occasionally. So those are some of the areas where, and they're all around data science and AI, because that's where I spend a lot of my time learning and reading. So, but there's so many great resources out there. But for me, those are the few that I subscribe to and use for learning.
Mhm. No, I love that. Thanks for those examples, and we'll make those links available in the episode notes for all of our listeners. Ray, last but not least, tell us what are you currently reading, and what is one book that you always recommend to others, and why is that?
Yeah, I'm actually right now finishing this book called Learning to Love
Mhm.
Data Science, and it's by this author named Mike Barlow. It is put together in a way that breaks it down from more of a theoretical, high level perspective, not trying to say that you're going to become a data scientist, but to understand the concepts of what encompasses data science. So this is one book that I am, you know, in right now, like 3/4 of the way done, and I just can't put it down. I love this book, and I highly recommend it. And it just, for those who might want to pursue a career in data science or data, anything around data and technology from a data perspective, um, I recommend it and hope that it inspires them to want to pursue that, if that's what they want. Oh, they may read it and say, you know what, this is not really what I want to do, which is fine too. You got to find your passion. Once you find that passion, everything just kind of comes into place and falls right there, and your path is kind of becomes clear to you, right? So yeah, so there's a lot of books. I mean, there's a lot of personal books that I've read, but I can't even think of the names and authors right now. I apologize, but
No, no, it's all good.
from
I love the recommendation, and definitely if you think of something, send it to me. We'll include that with the publication as well for
sure,
our listeners.
sure.
Ray, can't thank you enough for your time today. It was such a great and insightful conversation. Definitely gonna stay in touch with you, do another episode in about a year to see how much have transpired, how many more CIOs that you have produced, and much appreciated all of the insights you shared with us.
Yeah, and absolutely. That'd be fun. I will actually send you a list of some of my, colleagues and friends and folks that I've, very close to, that I've helped evolve. It may open up more candidates for you to kind of consider in the future for some of your podcasts. And like I said, some are CEOs, some are CTOs, some are different roles, but it's pretty cool. You could kind of get a sense of how their careers evolved, and maybe tie it together and say, hey, you remember Ray? How did he help you in your path? So that'd be cool.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I love those recommendations. Usually those are the best episodes. Like, with Maribel recommending you, it's super exciting. So definitely much appreciated all the insights.
Awesome. Well, Jan, thank you so much for the time. This was a lot of fun. I like talking about my past in the sense of how can I help the youth and the folks that are looking for some guidance in terms of this industry. So, you could always share my profile on LinkedIn, and anyone who wants to reach out and connect with me, I'm open to guide them and answer any questions they may have. So